Hi everyone, welcome to the Go Digital talk on email marketing. I just want to open by saying that email marketing is still probably the most popular marketing channel, especially if you are looking at business to business, with 3.9 billion people now having an active email address, as opposed to a closely followed 3.5 billion people using social media. And if you're in business, how many people will check their emails first thing in the morning? I know it's the first thing I do as soon as I get to work, is check my emails and then go and make my coffee. So in terms of actual, a sort of channel for getting a message out, I think email is still probably the most relevant. Just some quick information for you. Obviously, like I just said, it's still an influential source. 86% of business professionals will prefer correspondence by email. I know, sort of again touching on social media, I know LinkedIn's getting ever more popular for direct contact now, but email's still by far the best. In terms of spend on email marketing, this is quite an interesting fact. For every £1 spent on email, you can make £38 back in terms of revenue. And again, this will vary quite widely depending on the type of business. E-commerce is obviously a massive one for email marketing. I'm signed up to, either deliberately or by accident, I've signed up to loads of shop marketing. I've subscribed to shops. It happens automatically when you buy something. Amazon, for example, I get probably 3 or 4 emails from Amazon every day with, we found another product that you might like. And then there are some shops that I've got a genuine interest in the product, so I've signed up deliberately to find out what new products are coming onto the market. And it is effective. I mean, I don't know what you guys are like, but when I get an email come through and it's something I'm interested in, I always click through to have a look. And I'll come on to how you record those interactions as well. So email open rates. So when you look at doing an email campaign, and I said to you, Flo, earlier about what you can actually measure, like how you measure the success of a campaign. So open rates and click-through rates are the two obvious ones. You instantly get your report, you send out your email, you can go into the campaign 10 minutes later. They're usually always busier as soon as you send them. So what you'll see generally is you'll see a spike in opens, and then over the course of a day or two, that open rate will drop off. Generally, if they've received an email, normally most people either open it straight away or delete it if they're not interested. So average email open rates are 21%. So not massive, but then if you're sending out an email to a 10,000 strong mailing list, that's quite a lot of people that have actually now opened and looked at your content. The interesting thing here is welcome emails. So that's when someone will go to a website and it says, sign up for 10% discount or, get some money off your first purchase. Welcome emails, the ones that you get immediately after signing up to something, are 82% open rate. So generally, they're the best ones to for engagement. They're the ones that you really want to think about if you're doing, website subscribe lists. Personalizing subject lines. So I mentioned a minute ago about actually subject lines are really important for campaigns because they determine, firstly, whether they get past spam filters, and then whether it's something that's going to engage the person that's looking at the email. Obviously, if the subject line is again on topic and it's something that people are interested in, they're likely to open it. Personalising a subject line means having someone's name in the subject, which obviously if you've got a mailing list, you've got their details, so it's actually quite easy to do. So the subject line could say, hey Matt, we've got a great product for you. It makes you feel like they're more sort of targeted at you personally. So that's always a good tip. Devices is another one. So I still see quite a lot. I open all of my emails on a mobile. I'm always checking things on my phone, but I still see emails come through that have clearly been designed for desktop and they haven't thought about a mobile. And what will happen generally is you'll see the left-hand side of the email and then you've got to slide backwards and forwards to see the rest of it. And it's like, that's bad. You should be designing for different screen widths. So as a rule, when we do emails, we generally look at about 600 pixels, which on a sort of decent resolution phone, that will sit quite nicely in the email browser, you know, edge to edge. Anything over that, you're going to end up with problems. So again, I mentioned B2B. Email for B2B rather than B2C is a lot higher, and that's just purely because of that statistic above, that professionals just prefer email as a sort of marketing channel.
Can you just say what B2B and B2C is?
Oh yeah, B2B is business to business and B2C is business to customer or consumer. So yeah, I mean, shops, for example, that's generally B2C because they're trying to sell to the public. But if you're trying to send out an email to get funding in, and you might be sending it out to companies, so that would be classed as B2B. So I don't know, again, you've all sort of had a go. There are so many tools for email marketing, and there's a bit of a difference between, what did you say you were using, Flo? Zoho, was it? Zoho, okay. So you've got tools like Zoho, which are more CRMs, they're kind of customer management tools that also have email functionality. We use one called Entreport, which is quite a complex email managing tool. These are the sort of popular pure email marketing tools, and I imagine you've probably all heard of MailChimp, have you? That's the big sort of industry standard. Campaign Monitor is very similar to MailChimp. That I actually prefer Campaign Monitor. The reason that most people go for MailChimp is because it's free. You can send up to a certain number of thousand emails for free, and it's only after you get over a certain number that they then start charging you for it. The only thing with the free accounts is obviously that it's branded up with MailChimp's logo and bits and pieces in the footers, but most people aren't too fussed about that. You know, they're getting free emails. So, and then you've got Aweber, Constant Contact, Drip, GetResponse. They're probably the 4 other big ones that you may not have heard of, but they all pretty much do the same thing. What's nice about these tools is it doesn't matter where your subscriber list comes from. So, for example, MailChimp and Campaign Monitor, I know that you can go into those tools and you can actually build a subscribe form. So basically, subscribe to our newsletter, put your email address in and your name, and then you can embed that form directly on your website. So it automates the whole process. Someone comes to your website, they see there's a subscribe to a newsletter box, they put your name in and it automatically populates your mailing list within MailChimp. There's no having to go and get people's details from one place and then import them. But if you do, let's say you do an event like Seaside in the Square, for example, and you've got someone going around talking to people and taking down people's email addresses, obviously as long as you've got their permission, GDPR, etc., you can manually then go in and build your list that way. But all of those tools will let you create automated subscribe boxes for websites. So building lists. So again, how do you do it? So email sign up on websites, they're probably the most popular one. Generally you'll see them on websites anyway. They're usually around the footer area, sometimes a bit higher. Sometimes it will be you land on a site and you're looking at a page for 10 seconds and something will pop up and say, hey, put your email address in and we'll send you a discount code. Other times it will be when you go to leave the website and you go to shut the browser down and suddenly it pops up and says, hey, don't go, give us your details. Manually adding contacts, like I just said, that's again another popular one for people that run events. Has anyone ever purchased a list? Has anyone gone out and bought data from a company? And again, this probably only really applies to sort of B2B, quite big agencies. So there are a bunch of companies in the UK that offer data. It's amazing the information people hold on everybody else, and this is why all these GDPR rules are becoming more and more strict. You can actually go to these agencies and say, I want 10,000 contact details for people that live in a 5-mile radius of Southampton between this age and this age that might have these interests, and they've got this information, and you basically pay the money and they send you a list that you then import straight into your mailing campaign. This is changing slightly, obviously, with GDPR. There's now a thing called opt-in. There's opt-in and double opt-in. So if someone's brand browsing your website and they're buying a product, for example, you could have a checkbox that says, are you happy to go on our mailing list? That's an opt-in. A double opt-in is then they do that, you then ping them an email immediately saying thanks for signing up, please confirm that this is your email address and that you're happy to be on our mailing list. That's now seems to be the more common approach. When you purchase a list, you don't have that permission yet. So the first thing you need to do is send an email saying you've been added to our mailing list, do you want to stay on it? And that's where it all goes wrong, because generally most people are like, I've never heard of this company, and they don't bother with the opt-in. So I feel like that's probably going to become less relevant, the purchasing lists. Social media, again, is another good one. We always talk about using social media to drive traffic to websites and things like that. You can do the same thing with email. Just put a post on social media saying, hey, we're going to start sending out newsletters if you want to keep up to date. Here's a link to sign up to our mailing list. And then there you go on the right. Why would people do it? Why do people want to give you their details? So keeping up to date with news, if it's something that you're genuinely interested in, you will most likely sign up. Discounts and offers, that's the biggie. That's the one that especially shops, and it's the one that always gets me. You know, I'm looking at something on a shop and someone says, you know, get 20% off if you give us your email address. That's quite a popular one. And again, incentives. So the incentive one is things like, we're going to be launching a new product, or we're going to be launching a new event, or we're going to be selling tickets. Sign up now and you'll get early access to whatever it is. That always seems to do quite well. So once you've got your list, and this is quite common, that people will just have a mailing list. There might be anything from a few hundred to tens of thousands of people on it. What you then need to do is think about what message you're trying to send to those people, and does it relate to every single person on the list. So if you've got a site with different things, different activities happening, different products being sold, and all of your mailing list is just bundled into one group, the chances are you'll send out a campaign and it's only really relevant to a percentage of them. So what we say is, and you can do this in any of those email tools that I showed you a second ago, is you segment your lists. You can run multiple sign-up forms. So you could have a sign-up form for people that just want to stay updated on the latest news. You can have a sign-up form for people that are interested in a certain type of product. And what you can do is you can then segment lists. So within the tool, you can split those lists, rename them, and say this is a list that's interested in this, this is a list that's interested in this. So you can then target, you can be more specific with the content that you put in your emails, and you can target those people directly. You'll see a massive increase in response rate if you do that, as opposed to just sending out one generic email to everybody. So here's some examples. So I've used these examples here. These are emails that were actually sent to me. They're quite narrow, and that one on the left went on forever. But these have come through to my mobile, which is why they look, obviously you can see they've been designed for a mobile. So Planet X is a bike shop. Their emails, I always open their emails because they're always really funny. There's always stuff going on in them that's like humorous. They've got quite a kind of like, we don't care who we offend or upset attitude in their emails. And actually what I like about them is they're the same on their social media channels. And if for whatever reason somebody gets on one of their social channels and either moans about a product or starts arguing with them or, you know, kicks off, they screenshot that and put it in their next email, and it's like, hey, look what happened this week. We've had a Barney with one of our customers. Or they do it the other way as well. You know, if a customer's been like, oh, I've bought this and it's amazing, they'll do the same thing. But it works really well because it keeps your interest, it keeps people engaged, and obviously if you're the person that they've been chatting to on social and you see your name come up in the email. So, and like I say, an element of humour for them. The one on the right, what I wanted to point out there was call to action. It's amazing how many people send out emails, and actually the version on the left is quite a good example of how not to do a call to action. There's no obvious place there to click. Do you see what I mean? They're showing you something, they're announcing that they've done a new finance thing on their website and you can use sliders to set your levels. There is a link there at the bottom, see more here in blue, but it's so lost in amongst all the text. That's probably an example of how not to do it. Whereas if you look at the one on the right, it's a nicely designed email, quite a nice sort of eye-catching image, really minimal like introduction to the product, and then 2 obvious call to actions. Either check it out, go and view the product, or watch a video. So including really good call to actions will increase engagement. You need to make it obvious for somebody to click, and hopefully they do. Using images, and I've put on there animated GIFs because you can now include animation in email, and usually most email software will show animated GIFs. The danger of it, though, there's always a flip side to this. So that image on email on the right, when that comes through, unless you've set your device to automatically show images, that will just come through as a blank white page, because that whole top section down to there is an image. And if the image doesn't preload, basically you're just seeing a blank message. So there is a danger of using too many images and not enough text, because then the content just looks like it doesn't exist until you click that button that says download images, which it obviously gives you the option to do. So what I would recommend is start with some text content, then have an image, so that at least there's something there that they're going to see when they open the email.
How did you scale up to the desktop? Just wondering.
Yeah, I can show you afterwards, but they do. They just widen slightly, but it's like with a website, you can get responsive design for email as well, but it's just making sure you've got that set width so that, I'll show you it on my phone, it fits perfectly into your phone, and then if you look at it on a desktop, it just scales up slightly. Yeah, designing HTML email, that's another good topic actually of should you be doing these nice designed emails, or should you just be sending out text email? Text emails often look more personalised. If it's just a block of text, it's got someone's name at the top, just a message, and then it's got someone signed it off at the bottom. Generally, engagement on those is quite high as well, because it feels like someone's mailed you directly, rather than it's just, oh, I'm on a mailing list and I've received a generic email. Personally, I prefer the look of the HTML designs, nice imagery. I feel like that's more likely that I'm going to click something unless it was just a big block of text, which I'll probably not read all the way through. And again, I've put on there again offers and incentives. You'll always get better engagement if you're offering something for, a discount or something free, or buy this and get something free, that kind of thing. You'll always get a better engagement. And then finally, adding video to an email massively increases engagement. So your click-through rates will be a lot higher. And again, the flip side to this is not every email software will play a video directly in the device itself. The way around that is to use an image and make it look like a video. So stick a big play icon right over it, so it looks like if you click it, it's going to start playing, when in fact it's not going to. All it's going to do is take you to your website and play the video there, but you'll see an increase in engagement if you do that. Okay, so I mentioned a minute ago, a big block of text. People have got a habit of just scanning content. So they'll just skim down the text and look for the key parts that are interesting to them. Uber did a really good email campaign recently where they know this is a fact. They know that this is what people do if it's a text-heavy email. So they sent out an email that you can sort of just see on the left there. They had a big block of text, but they highlighted certain words from that text to make a second message. So you can see in dark it says, we know that you're scanning this email to save time. With Uber, sync your calendar to save money or whatever. There's actually a full message there. There's more to it. So if you went back and decided you were going to read the whole block of text, there is more to it. But I thought that was quite clever, because it catches your attention and you immediately see what they're trying to say to you. You sync up with our calendars so that you can save time or whatever. I mentioned earlier, like with Planet X, user-generated content. This is big for social media as well. If you can get people on social media to send in content, it always has better response rates. It's the same for email. Redbubble do a campaign. They do, so Redbubble are like Cafe Press. They do like t-shirts and pillowcases and whatever. People send their own designs in, and then you can go and buy other people's designs, and they just print the t-shirt as you order them. What these guys do is they'll do a feature email where all of the content in the email is by one particular person that's sent in the content. Now, the person that's going to excite the most is obviously the artist that sent in the work. But if you imagine if that artist has got a few people on their email list, they've probably got some social media channels, the first thing they're going to do is share that. So user-generated content will get it will get engagement, but it will get massive exposure because people will be more likely to share it, especially if it's their content. So it's always a good tip. If you get comments on Facebook or whatever, start including them in your email campaigns. So coming back to that whole HTML email versus plain text thing, I like the look of HTML emails. I think most people think they look more attractive than a block of text. But actually, and we found this with some of our campaigns, because we always do A/B testing when we run our campaigns, the plain text emails get a better response. I think it's just because they feel like it's not a standard templated email that's going out to a massive mailing list. It feels like it's more personal. So when you run your campaigns, again, it's coming up in a second about testing, but split your campaign list 50-50, send half of them a nicely designed HTML version, send the other half a plain text version. Just have a look at the results and see what works better for you. It might be that the HTML one does work better and people do like a nice design, but you might surprise yourself and find out actually most people are responding to plain text. And obviously plain text ones are a lot quicker to set up and send than having an email designed or using a template. And again, coming back to that personalisation thing, starting an email with certainly somebody's name rather than just hello, if it's got your name on it, you feel like it's more targeted, directed at you. Tracking people's activity on your website, and again, I've used a shop example here, but this is probably most relevant to shops. If someone's engaged with your website in any way, they might have bought a product, they might have bought tickets or something, they might have expressed interest in an event. If you can include that content in your email, so it says, you recently attended this or you recently bought this product, and then carry on your message, that will increase the engagement. Now, the example I've used here is I bought some shoes on Offspring. They've done the typical thing of coming back. They've said, oh, thanks for buying these shoes. Do you want to win a £100 voucher? So there's the incentive. They want me to leave a review on the shoes, and they're going to put me into you might win something. The chances are you won't, but there's more of an incentive there than if it just says leave a review. So I thought that was quite a good combination of a few different elements of incentivizing the content, personalizing the content, making it relevant to me. But what's quite funny is the first thing they do right across the top is they've still got links to all of their different sections on the website. So before I've even looked at the message, I can see, and the sale one's on there as well, which is the one everybody clicks on. They're already like, click something, try and come back to our website, come and buy more products. Really simple email, really clean, minimal content. The chances, in fact, I did click it. That's going to get people to engage with you. You'll get traffic back to your website doing that. And finally, like I said a minute ago, if you're sending out an email to, say, your own personal mailing list, people that are already customers or clients or people that definitely sign it off with a name. We've just sent out our Christmas a message to all of our existing customers, talking about if anyone's doing any Christmas campaigns that they need help with. We did a plain text email. We put one of our directors' names at the bottom of it. It feels like we're just emailing that customer directly. To them, it doesn't seem like everybody's had the same message. It's direct to them. So again, we get a good response on those. So, subject lines and spam filters. So this is a massive one for email marketing, especially if you're sending out to bulk mailing lists. Spam filters are getting more and more clever. They're filtering out you know, tons of stuff now. There's a whole list of words that if you stick one of these words in your spam, in your subject line, it's going straight to a spam box. It's not going to go to an inbox. And I mentioned to you the word donate. Anything to do with money will go into a spam filter. Anything to do with things like sex, taboo subjects, that's going straight to a spam filter. And you might do it innocently. You might not even realise that you've done it, but it's amazing how much will get filtered through. What you can do prior to sending an email, and again, regardless of what tool you're using, is you can run tests and you can run spam tests. Most of those tools will offer that anyway, like MailChimp, Campaign Monitor. There's actually a section in there where you can run the email test and it will flag it up and say your subject line it's got too many spam keywords in it. There's a tool that I've used in the past called Litmus, which I think I'll mention in a minute actually. It can be quite expensive because you pay per campaign, and you obviously if you're running a lot of campaigns you end up paying a load. It's an amazing tool. So what it will do is it will review your email, and this is particularly important if you're doing HTML emails. It will look at the design and it will tell you whether it's going to display correctly in, you know, Outlook on a desktop, Outlook on your phone, Apple Mail, whatever it is. It runs it through every available email engine, email software. Tells you what's going to break, but more importantly, it does this spam test. It checks subject lines, it checks the content, and it will score it and say, you know, there's a 95% chance this will go through, or there's an 80% chance this is going to end up in spam. The reason that's damaging, I think I'll put it on there. Yeah, if too many emails go into spam boxes, what will happen is your domain name or your email address will end up going onto a blacklist. And then what will happen is every email that you send out will just get filtered. You won't be able to reach people. We've seen cases before where people have been sending emails, and everyone does it, where it will say from Go Southampton or from, you know, bluefrontier.co.uk as the email address. Well, that relates directly to your website as well. So if your domain name gets blacklisted, you're going to start affecting your website performance. So it's really quite important to make sure you don't end up spamming everybody or appear to be spamming everybody. An interesting one that I found out this week actually, people that use emojis in subject lines, and I've started seeing this quite a lot now in subject lines and in email content, emojis increase engagement. I don't know why. I only found this out this week. I've read the Experian report. I don't know, never tried that, but I've seen it happen where people, you know, emails come through and they've got the fire emoji or some faces or whatever. Don't know, give it a go. I didn't put the link in here, but I can send the link round. There's a list online of the top 1,000 spam keywords, and it's the ones you'd expect. Like I say, it's all things like free this or things like 100% guaranteed, that kind of phrase, straight in the spam box. That's not going through. Lastly, unsubscribes. A bit like with the opt-in and the double opt-in, you've also got to give people the option to opt out. That is actually law now. It was law through GDPR, and now I think the actual UK government have enforced it. It must have an unsubscribe. So if you don't include an unsubscribe, a lot of email engines won't actually send the email. And also, if you've managed to get it past the email engine and you send it, your spam filter will block it, because if it will see that it's a marketing email and there's no unsubscribe option, that will cause it to go into spam. If you're using things like MailChimp, generally when you create the email, it will stick it in there by default anyway. I know some people try and remove them, but I wouldn't advise doing that. And then again, this is the second most important one, testing things. I just mentioned it briefly then with Litmus. Oh yeah, I'll put it at the bottom of this page. So testing things to see whether they're going to work, testing to see whether they're going to get past spam filters. A/B testing, this is really like a powerful thing to do. You can learn so much by doing two versions, and they don't need to be massively different. Slight variations on your emails. Split your list into two, send one to each half, see which one's got better engagement. next time you send an email, you'll know that that's the more successful way to do it. And you can keep doing that. You know, every time you run a campaign, just keep testing, see what works. And I've put some things in here to look at. Subject lines is a big one. Call to action buttons. If there's an obvious call to action and people are missing it, you know, why is that happening? Is it the colour? Is it the placement? That kind of thing. The use of the level of graphics versus text, maybe try altering that. But definitely, that's probably one of my top bits of advice, is to just keep testing campaigns before you send them. And another interesting one about engagement. So it's equal in terms of men and women on a desktop. Women are more likely to convert on a tablet and men more on a phone. Don't know how that translates to you guys, but like I said earlier, I check everything on my phone. Like, all my emails come through to my phone. I don't know how true that is. Again, it's something I've read, and according to reports, that's how it works. I don't know why I put that Netflix one there. There was probably because of the call to action thing. Again, it was just like another. That was literally the whole email. That was it. It was just that came through, and it was just one of them saying, we've got a new program. Big obvious call to action. I either want to play it now or I want to add it to a list. Really, really obvious. Okay, so once you've sent your campaign and you've started looking at your results, and this is where it's like, I think actually this is where the time gets invested, is to actually go back through and look at your campaign results. You need to keep the list clean. Now, two things will happen when you send an email. You'll get a bunch that don't get delivered, and this is particularly relevant if you've bought a list, a mailing list, because you might have out-of-date content on contacts on there. So you'll get a bunch that will come back and it will say undelivered. There might be like 5% of your mailing list is undelivered. Basically, what that means is that either the email address doesn't exist anymore, or there's something blocking your mail going to that particular company. If you start seeing that happen, just delete those people from your mailing list, because again, going back to the whole spam filter thing, that can start affecting your spam score. You just want to have a clean list, so anything that's not going through, just delete them. The second thing is, you'll send out emails, and if you pay attention to your campaign reports and you start actually looking at who engages and who doesn't, if you see that there's a whole bunch of people that just don't open them, they don't look at them, they don't engage, it's better to remove them from your list. They're either not interested, they just can't be bothered to hit the unsubscribe, but they're not interested, they're not engaging with you. You really want to be improving your click-through rates and your open rates. So the way to do that is to actually start culling the people that just basically they just ignore your emails. And I've put this example up because this is quite a nice way to do this. So HireVue send out these emails, and it just says, look, we've noticed that you're not engaging, and you can put whatever you want here, but their version is, we noticed that you're not interested in our emails anymore. We're going to take you off of our mailing list. So it's actually saying to her, look, we're removing you. But then they give her the option. There's a big button there. Actually, I am interested. I've just not looked at the last lot. By clicking that, she opts back in, and at the same time, she's engaged. So suddenly, she's become someone that's not someone that's ignoring an email. She's now engaged with an email. So I just put that there because I thought actually that's quite a clever way to re-engage with people, and get your conversion rates, click-through rates back up. Just a quick fact, because we toy with this all the time. We're always trying to work out when is the best time of day, what day of the week to send out an email. So according to a bunch of reports, Tuesday is the best day. I know Mondays are really bad, and I know Fridays are bad. Monday, everyone's too busy, and they've always come to an inbox that's full of emails anyway, generally work emails. They will go through their inbox and just delete anything that doesn't look like it's from a client or a customer. So avoid Mondays. Fridays is like that, but for the other reason. They're in weekend mode. They're not interested in opening new emails and looking at new things unless it's from a customer. They do the same thing. So obviously that leaves you with the 3 midweek days, and out of those 3, Tuesday is the best. In terms of times, we've tried you know, we've been experimenting with this, and actually it turns out you can send emails out in the evenings because people are at home, like me. If they've got emails set up on their phone, an email will ping through. I'm just sat there watching the TV. I'll look at it. Whereas in the workday, if people are, you know, flat out busy and they're getting emails come through, generally they'll just either ignore them or delete them. So experiment with that. And again, coming back to your A/B tests, maybe send the same email but send one at, you know, 1 in the afternoon and then send one at 6 in the evening. See which one gets the better engagement. And then obviously for the next email, you know, to send it at that time. And then finally, the reporting side of it. So this is a screenshot of an example of a report from MailChimp. So once you've sent your campaign, you can instantly see just on the overview here that, you know, 621 have been sent. So far, 212 have been opened, which is a 34. That's quite a high open rate actually. That's a nearly 35% open rate. 37% have clicked it, which is a 5% open click rate. Generally, click-through rates are somewhere between 3 and 5%. If you're getting anything over that, you're doing really well. It also gives you things like who's unsubscribed. So you've got a couple of bounces there. They're the ones that I say, you know, if that's happening a lot, if there's loads of emails that keep coming up on a bounce list, basically the email address either doesn't work or something's blocking your email, just take them off. It's really worth looking at this kind of stuff. I know it's time consuming, but if you're sending out regular campaigns, this is where you're going to learn what's working. Otherwise you'll send campaigns out, and unless you're tracking this stuff properly, and then you can go even further than this and you can start looking at your website, because 9 times out of 10 the links in your email are going to be going to your website. So you can set up goals on your website. You can set up specific landing pages. So if you're going to run let's say you're doing your Christmas campaign, you could create a new landing page on the website and direct all of the email traffic to that. Well, actually what that means is, without even looking at your email tool, you could just look at your analytics on your website and see, well, that page has had 300 hits on it this month, so we know that email has generated 300 click-throughs. So if you do both and you look at the activity that's happening on your email and then you know look at that on your website, you can actually trace a path and you can see what they've clicked on, what page they've looked at on your website, and then what they've done on your website. So yeah, open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, so that's when they get to wherever they're going. Do they then buy a product? And then finally, obviously, a return on investment. If you've managed to engage with them, they've come to your website and then they've donated some money, or they've spent some money, they've booked a ticket, whatever they've done, you've had a return on the investment. And that's pretty much everything I had to say today. Has anyone got any questions? Does any of this like ring true with anybody? Have you been here, seen this, done this, understood it?
Some people are overcomplicated, something you said earlier.
Yeah.
Obviously, since they hold saints.
Yeah.
After every home game, they send out an email, and it's all singing and dancing.
Yeah.
So it's massively long. It's all full of colours. Gibbs has got everything you mentioned. It's got little bits of Callie just.
Yeah. I think a lot of that comes to the rate, the sort of the frequency.
You don't do their email.
No, not at all. I think a lot of it comes down to frequency though.
Yeah.
So some people might send one newsletter every 3 months, every 6 months even. I think if the frequency is that, you know, if you're leaving a gap that big between sending emails, generally you'll cram as much into that email. You'll get 6 months worth of content into one email. But like you say, the chances of people actually engaging with that are lower because they spend so much time looking through that it's not an obvious, this is what we're trying to tell you, click here to find out more. Going back to that example, that was the whole email. It was literally, we've added something you might be interested in, there's a button, do you want to have a look at it? I either do or I don't. But the chances are that if that's something that interests me, a 1980s Tokyo expat film, yeah, I'm going to click it, I've engaged, you know.
Because that takes 2 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is like, you know, in the fast-paced world that we live in, that's pretty much all the time that anyone's got. People don't want to sit and read an email for 10 minutes. They want to just look at it, know instantly what it is. Are they interested or aren't they? So yeah, keeping email design nice, keeping the content short and sweet, and then an obvious call to action as quickly as possible.
I don't know if you've heard of them, but Blue and Wild, they're like an online florist.
Yeah.
And they've been doing really good email marketing campaigns where they do kind of like you said 50-50, or they sometimes send it from Outlook and they sometimes send it
Yeah.
from HTML.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot more personalised when it comes from Lucy at Blue and Wild.
Yeah.
And sending sort of like discount offers.
Yeah.
But obviously it's probably not Lucy necessarily.
No, it
but
won't
it's
be.
just,
But it feels like it
a lot
is,
more
yeah.
personal, but it's nice having both actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes back to that A/B split testing. We do it every time. You know, we'll never just create an email and send it. We'll always split test, and we'll send out, and we'll see which one gets the engagement. And it really surprised us when we started sending plain text emails, because we were so focused on the design of what it should look like and the content and that kind of stuff. We sent the same content just as a block of text, and actually we got better engagement. And it was really like, wow, because it feels like it's just a personal, and especially if you've put someone's name at the end of it.
Yeah.
With that one that we sent out a week or two ago about starting Christmas campaigns came from Mike, our digital director. I don't know, some of you have met him. But he had a bunch of emails straight back because people replied, because it came from his email address. So people just hit reply and just send emails directly back to him. So, and that's quite nice as well, because you can instantly see, without having to check statistics, whether it's been a successful campaign just based on the engagement that he got back.
If you have so we've got a newsletter subscriber list on MailChimp.
Yeah.
So they've subscribed to receive a newsletter, can I then still contact them like throughout the month?
Yeah.
So ours is monthly.
Yeah.
So outside of the newsletter, I can contact them saying, oh, we've got a fundraising campaign.
Via email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it because they've just subscribed to a newsletter that I can't?
No, as long as you, like I said, as long as you've got unsubscribes at the bottom of your emails, that's fine. They've opted in. If they've joined your newsletter, they've obviously opted in at some point. Like I say, you can do that double opt-in thing, but as long as each one of your emails has got an option for them to say, look, I really don't want all these emails, then yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, so on our website we've got a link that says if you're interested in offers,
Yeah.
subscribe here.
Yeah.
So any of those email addresses, like as long as you put an unsubscribe on whatever you send.
Yeah. And as long as on that form on the website, as long as there's a checkbox that says I'm happy to receive, emails or messaging, as long as that's an opt-in, as long as they've done that, then you're fine. Yeah. I think the rule around GDPR is if it's a business email address, it's quite relaxed. If it's a personal email address, it's a bit stricter on the whole opt-in, opt-out thing. But yeah, generally, if they've signed up via a subscribe form, that's them saying to you, yeah, I'm interested. So yeah.
Something about if like it was a business and the email address is like advertised on the internet.
Yeah. Then you can add them to a mailing
Yeah.
list and send it to them. Yeah, as long as you're giving them an opt-out option. Yeah. It's just the only thing you can't do is personal email addresses. So if you've managed to get like my personal address, if you send it to my Blue Frontier one, that's fine. But if you send it to my Gmail one, for example, they're different. Go on, Nick.
I get a technical-based camera review
Yeah.
email on a Friday, and this company, they're selling cameras, obviously.
Yeah.
I quite look forward to it
Yeah.
because
You've got a genuine interest in the product.
But also it's because it's the weekend coming up.
Yeah.
So I was interested to know, we talked about Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah.
Kind of ruled out. I get Monday. I don't quite
You,
get Friday.
I was talking about B2B at that point. So you're a consumer now.
Yeah.
So they're going direct to a consumer. So what they've probably realised is actually photographers might be looking forward to going out and taking some photos at the weekend, and the best time to engage them is just before the weekend. There'll be a reason that they've chosen the Friday to do it, and it'll be through all the testing that they've done. But yeah, so it is slightly different with B2B and B2C.
You talked about the segmentation of the list.
Yeah.
So would you segment it by their engagement with your campaign?
Generally, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so
age
You can segment by anything really. So the way we do it, like I said, we use a system called Entreport, and the girl or the lady at our company that does all of our email stuff, Entreport's really quite advanced in automation. So what we can do is we can set up a sort of engagement flow. So we'll send out an email. If someone opens the email and clicks a link, what will happen in our system is it will move them to a different list, and it will add a score to them. And what we're actually doing is we've set a number, and once people have engaged a certain number of times, it will move on to what we call a hot lead list. So effectively what we've done is we've captured somebody, they've engaged with a couple of emails, they might have looked at a website, they might have done something. It will get to a point where it says, this now qualifies as a lead. This is you've got a genuine chance of selling a service to this person, and we'll actually then make contact with them directly, phone them up or go and see them or something. A lot of the sort of simpler tools won't let you do that, but Zoho does. That's a CRM, so you can qualify leads through your email campaigns, and you can automate the whole process. So you just set the rules and say, this is what I want to happen. I want to send an email. If anyone engages with it, they get moved to a different list because
They wouldn't stay part of that.
no, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so everyone starts with just one big list,
Yeah.
and by doing your campaigns you start to realise where the interest is, and like I say, you can automate the whole process so that suddenly you'll go back in and 300 people from that list have moved into a second list because they've shown an interest in something.
You can still send emails to all of those
Yeah,
lists.
yeah, you still keep your original list,
Yeah.
and then you just create new ones that you take particular people out if you know they're interested in a certain thing.
So they're not duplicated.
No.
Yeah.
No. So what? So for you, it'll be things like what, fundraising, and then
Yeah,
volunteers,
just thinking,
and
like, we've got our newsletter list.
Yeah.
And within that, there might be some funders, there might be volunteers, there might be people who want to donate or support
Yeah,
us. So
yeah,
I'm just thinking of sort of segmenting that.
yeah, and that would be really useful. You'll find your engagement will go up if you send more specific content to different people.
And I can send them different emails.
Yeah, like if you've got fundraisers and volunteers and you're running an event and you're looking for people to come and help, if you just target those people, the response rate on that will be a lot higher than people that might just be interested in the odd donation every now and again. Yeah, definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah.
What tool do you use for?
I use MailChimp.
Okay, yeah, so you should be able to do that quite easily.
I've read about segmentation, but I've not actually done it. So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
I'm just-
I mean, it's again, it's like with anything. It's the more time you invest into it, the more you'll get out. And unfortunately, it's one of these channels that it does need quite a bit of time, especially if you're going to do segmentation and look at campaign reports, run A/B split tests. But segmenting lists is definitely the way forward. Yeah. Right. Any more questions? It's quite short and sweet today. We're within the hour.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. No worries.